This hockey show on the Trev. Sweet. Anyway, I've waited on this long enough. I've avoided the temptation to do many mock drafts, even though I've been playing them out in my head for months. And I've had a couple days now to look at the protected list, to look at who's available, and I think I'm ready to give you my mock draft for the Seattle expansion draft. Now, the only reason I took so long is more because I wanted to get it as close to what I think would be right as possible. And granted, there are a couple in here that are basic, worst kept secrets, but either way, this is just what I think the team's going to look like. It's not guaranteed that's what it's going to look like tomorrow, but let's give it a shot. Just a quick overview of the rules. Seattle has to select one player from 30 teams. Vegas is exempt because they're still technically the new kids on the block. So they're exempt, just as they're exempt from the $650 million expansion fee cut. Have to draft a minimum 14 forwards, 9 defensemen, 3 goalies. And 20 players have to be under contract for next season, or this coming season, sorry. Still stuck. But brief overview. Teams have the option of protecting 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, 1 goalie, or 8 skaters, 1 goalie. And there's a whole bunch of other specifics, no movement clauses, all that stuff, games played minimum, yada yada yada. We're not going to get into that. We're going to go alphabetically by team, starting with the Ducks. So for Anaheim, I went for a simple pick, mostly because it makes sense to pick up Hayden Fleury. Not so much for the 1.3 cap hit for a year, but because a change of scenery might do him some good. Put him in at least your top 4, as far as defense is concerned, and his career stats will definitely go up. That's the hope, anyway. Moving on. Arizona gives you choice, but what kind of choice you're looking for is completely up to you. So we're going to draft young. We're going to go with Christian Fischer. $1 million cap hit for this coming season, 24. Never a bad place to start on your forward depth. Boston, I'm sticking in defense. Going Connor Clifton. $1 million cap hit to 2023. So he got him for 2 years. And he's only 26, so he hasn't even hit his prime yet. Much like Fleury, maybe a change of scenery is what the doctor ordered. I could see him doing well, provided he's not a trade chip. Buffalo doesn't really give us a lot of good options. I mean, yeah, you could take Jeff Skinner if you want to take on the $9 million cap hit to 2027. No thanks. There's Okposo, but last I checked, he's still pretty banged up. So if I have to go with anybody, go with Brandon Davidson. Yeah, he's a UFA, but $700,000 cap hit. Not throwing anything away by picking this one. I mean, just because Buffalo didn't give you a lot doesn't mean you're walking out empty-handed. I mean, it's not like they're going to throw Jack Eichel in there. Not while they have him as possible four pieces for him. So, take what you can get, right? Don't really have to pretend a surprise on this one. It was pretty obvious from the day they announced the expansion draft that it was going to be Giordano, regardless of what other players might have been available. I mean, you could have took a chance on Hillington, absolutely, but there was no way you're going to take Lucic. No way. And I mean, with Giordano, it's never a bad thing to have a guy like him, who I think will probably be your first captain. I mean, yeah, he's a free agent at the end of the year. If you like what you see, sign for another year, maybe two. See what you can get out of it anyway. But either way, Giordano is pretty much the shoe-in. For Carolina, I think it was definitely a case of familiarity in selecting Jake Bean. I say that because Francis selected Jake Bean when he was in Carolina. And at less than 900,000 plus an RFA, it won't be hard to negotiate a deal and get him on the team full time. Never know, could crack the top six, could eat some minutes. Much like Buffalo, Chicago gives us not much. So again, take what you can get. Adam Gaudette. Yes, he's an RFA at 950,000. I don't think that's going to be a hard one to negotiate at all. If he cracks the lineup, you never know. Good things can always happen, right? I mean, a lot's been expected of him ever since he was drafted, and he just kind of hasn't really got there yet. So maybe, just maybe, this will be the place for him to shine. And when it comes to Colorado, I could look at Landeskog and pick him and have his negotiating rights. But out of all the options you have, you're never bad off going with Jonas Donskoy. 3.9 for the next 2 seasons. And the guy is solid for points. I mean, I don't have his stats in front of me right now, but I know he's been well into the 40-50 point range. So, no brainer on that one. Now, Columbus should be a pretty easy pick. You should automatically pick Max Domi, but I've heard by people that Seattle's going to take the pass on him. Don't take the pass. At 5.3 for the next season, it's not a bad thing. I mean, if he needs the time off to recover from surgery, give him that. But after that, it's pretty much like the trial run. If you don't like him, let him walk away. He'll be a UFA after that. But don't waste the pick. Take Domi. For Dallas, this one's pretty easy. Alexiak. Negotiate a deal with him, get him for at least 4 more years, 5 more years. And he'll be one of your top 3 defensemen, guaranteed. I mean, at a 2.137 cap hit, it's not going to be a hard sale. But that's who I would pick anyway. I'm hoping they'll replicate what I'm thinking, but I can't be held accountable, right? Either way, there's a whole bunch of upside in taking Alexiak. It would benefit everybody involved, so why not? From Detroit, you got lots of veteran presence on there. You got some guys definitely worth looking at, but ultimately stick defense. Stick low. 1.7 a year for Troy Stetcher for 1 season. It's not a bad thing. So I couldn't see why you wouldn't want to take him either. I mean, keep in mind, you can build a lot of taking a lot of defense. Like, definitely stick to your minimums for everything else, but get what you can on defense, because they're valuable trade chips. And if you do flip Stetcher, more picks the merrier, right? Oilers have lots of names, but really, other than Tyler Benson, the only one that really stands out is Dominic Cahoon. So I'd definitely take it. Yes, he's an RFA. Yes, it's only $975 a year, but he's depth and he's clutch when you need it to be. And I mean, if you're going to fill out your bottom 6 forward lines, Cahoon's not a bad choice. So I'd definitely pick Cahoon. Now this one's a gimme pick, as it's already been made. But Chris Driedger is coming from Florida. I believe he got a 3-year, $3.5 million a year contract extension. So it's a good thing for him. And I mean, really, there was no way he was going to actually stay his time out in Florida, not with Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight. There was just no way. So I mean, never a bad place to start for goaltending. For LA, for me, it's a no-brainer anyway. I'm going Blake Lizotte. I've always liked Lizotte. His style of play, and the fact that he's still young, he's only 23. RFA at the end of the season, it won't be hard, especially if he can crack the lineup, make a solid impact. I mean, the argument could be made for Lemieux, but ultimately, I think if you want playmaking and scoring, Lizotte's your guy. Minnesota, I was going to take Cam Talbot until Talbot got protected. So, take the backup, Capo Kakinen. At 24 years, and you've already got Driedger, and you got one more goalie to go, and you probably know where I'm going with that. Give him a year or two in development. He'll blossom. I mean, he's solid in Minnesota. Solid as far as goalies was concerned. So if you really want good goaltending for the future, Kakinen's your guy. Montreal sure changed a lot of things, didn't they? I'm calling their bluff. I'm taking Carey Price. And the beauty of taking Price at this point, my cap hasn't even hit the minimum. So we're doing good. Face the franchise. The marketability factor. I mean, everybody makes the argument of what Fleury did for Vegas, Price could do for Seattle. And definitely, in spades. If he needs time off to heal injuries, so be it. But who's seen the doctor report yet? I haven't heard anything. Not at this point. But yeah, I'm taking Price. I'll take his contract. Why not? If it leads to success, all for it. From Nashville, I'm going to take Johansson. It's either Johansson or Duchesne. I mean, you could have took Jankrock, but Johansson's younger than Duchesne and has one less year on his contract. It's $8 million. It's a bad contract for a guy like Johansson, but we'll take it. We could definitely use the first line center. Why not? New Jersey. Will Butcher takes us over half the cap, or at least over our minimum. And why not? Even if it's just a year, chances are we could probably get him to re-sign. We need that sandpaper defense. I think Butcher's your guy. I mean, if you want to be sloppy and take on a Subban contract for a year, go for it. Think smart. Think free agency. For what you have here, you can definitely improve in free agency. But anyway, if I want Butcher to grab points, I'll ask him to get points. But in the meantime, you need a defenseman like Butcher. From the Islanders, yeah, I'm going a little bit older. I'm taking Josh Bailey. I mean, his cap hit is cheaper than Everly by $500,000, but I've got him to the end of 2024. I need the goals. I need the playmakers. Bailey can fit the role. Either way. It'd be a sick forward line, let me tell you that. Rangers, you got choices. You got some solid choices. But I'm going to go with a smart choice. I'm going to take Colin Blackwell. UFA at the end of the next year at only $750,000. Yeah, I will. Even if he's a farmhand, I'm okay with that. But you never know. Either way, it'd be a good pickup, even if it is only for a year. Even if he is a farmhand, we'll take what we can get, especially out of the Rangers. Ottawa. Ottawa. To find anything in Ottawa that was worth picking, you really didn't have to go far, so I went with Chris Tierney. Yes, it's 3.5 for 1 mil, but I'm at least guaranteed 30 to 40 points. Guaranteed. So how can you say no to that? Don't you love a good reclamation project? Shane Gostisbehere. It's 2 years. If he doesn't pan out, you can let him walk away. But either way, it'd be nice to see him get his career back on track. See him at least pump out the points he was pumping out when he was on. Who knows? The worst that could happen is that it would work. Either way, it's worth a shot. You're not giving up anything. Take Gostisbehere. See how well he does for you. I might pay for this one. Jason Zucker. In a good year, I can hope for 50 points. In a good year. Hopefully, that good year is soon. Because I would hate to think that we'd be wasting 5.5 for 2 years on a guy who's not going to even get 50. But we'll see. That's my pick either way. San Jose. I went to Nato. Yes, he's an RFA. That's okay. At 1.9, it's not going to be hard to convince him to go for anything more than 2. At 25, left wing, lots of potential. Just has to let it out. Either way, let's hope for good things with Donato. I'm not going to lie. A huge part of me wanted to take Tarasenko. Just to flip him. But then I thought, why waste a good pick when you could take Vince Dunn? Solid defenseman. And someone you could throw in the top 4, maybe top 3 easily, instantaneously, and get your effect. Yeah, you could have got a whole bunch of good picks out of Tarasenko. It's not to say you won't get good picks elsewhere. But either way, Vince Dunn is my final pick. And yeah, I just talked myself out of Tarasenko just now. So how do you screw over the Cup champs? Take their promising defenseman, Cal Foote, at 22 years old and solid in the playoffs. For what I saw of him in the playoffs anyway, solid. Kid has potential written all over him. And I can't wait till it explodes in Seattle. The beauty of Toronto is if I wanted to, and this is what I would do personally, I'd select Kerfoot and I'd flip him right off the bat for whatever I can get. First rounder, sure, I'll take it. Kerfoot's my pick for flipping purposes only. And yes, that was what I was going to do with Tarasenko. I can probably get good value out of Kerfoot too. Not Tarasenko value, but I can get value out of him. Vancouver, taking Cole Lind. Ooh, he played 7 games. And he's eligible, believe it or not. At 891, and being an RFA, it's not going to be hard to talk him into a deal. And I mean, who knows? Being a European, it might not be a bad thing to have a high-scoring European on the team. You never know. That's just a pipe dream, right? Either way, that's my pick out of Vancouver. I almost wanted to say Vegas, because I'm so used to Vegas being after Vancouver, alphabetically. Washington. I'm taking Vitek Vanacek. Just to have that extra goalie. because you can never be too sure, right? In case the thing about Price is true and he's banged up and he needs time, it's better to be protected. I mean, a 25-year-old goalie at 716 a season for a season, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was clutch for the Caps when he needed to be in the regular season. He kept them in a lot of games that they had no business playing in. But I wanted to go with Schultz initially. And I mean, who knows, it might not be too late. You know, I mean, something could happen along the way. We could make a trade along the way and have the room for Schultz. But we'll see. We'll see. Either way, Vanacek's my pick. Finally out of Winnipeg, taking Mason Appleton. 25-year-old, making only $900,000 for this season. RFA, it's not going to be hard to convince him to stay. I mean, he was really coming into his own during this season. So hopefully that kind of luck carries over. It transcends well. Works for everybody involved. That's the hope anyway. Let's go over my numbers. Just a quick peek at my numbers. 30 drafted, 15 forwards, 11 defense, 4 goalies, all under contract with an 81.2 cap hit. Keep in mind, this is not going to be the same team that I open up the season with. And this is also my first mock draft, and my last. So there's that, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow. I mean, I think there are a couple of picks that are shoo-ins that we should talk about. As I said when I was picking this, I'm calling Montreal's bluff. Carey Price is coming to Seattle. I've been humming and hawing on that for the past 2 days, and I'm still not sure if I want to believe that, yeah, it's happening, or no, they're going to go with someone else. But either way, it's tempting not to take Price, but it's tempting to take Price. There's just a lot of what ifs and in betweens and X factors and stuff we could spend an entire episode on that we're just not going to talk about right now. But either way, that was my mock expansion draft. See how it goes. So that's Trev's Hockey Show. Well, thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you've tuned in this far. Because we're getting along just fine. So that's a great thing. While you're here, hit that like. While you're here, hit that red button that says subscribe. You know you want to. It'll make you feel good. We're getting close to 100, so let's do it up. All my socials are in the description down below. Well, since this is the mock draft, there's going to be an expansion draft. And that's, well, it's almost midnight now, so they're 20 hours away, give or take, less than 20. But either way, you know I've got a reaction to that one coming. So check that out. But either way, in between time, you're looking for more videos from the Trev. Later.